Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, good day, Mr. Tsotsi. Chair, Mr. Tsotsi, you will agree with me that there was a collaboration of executives and Guptas which became the initiation for the suspension of the executives. And the initiative was never taken by the board because the board had approved an event for the executive directors because they were new that they must go to management induction so that they can steer the ship. So you and the board, you did not fire them because the initiative was never from you. You see, so because you yourself, after you have been pressured, you were even exploring a possibility that if we could have a clause that talks to recusal, at least you will settle for it. You say to us here, the minister had expressed a disappointment. In fact, he had reprimanded you that were interfering with the administration. And subsequent to that, you were reprimanded by Tony Gupta because you were seen as useless in terms of their own interest. Well, we are here to establish what was their own interest. Perhaps when you answer this question, you will tell me what is it that they felt that you were useless on. And subsequent to that, you then get a call from the president. You then get a call from the president saying that he's been trying to get the DG, but expressing a particular interest. And later, you then get a call from Dudu Myeni. And I want you to tell us what is your social relationship with Dudu? Is Dudu your girlfriend? Or what is happening? Or is Dudu the girlfriend of the president? You see, because you need to tell us if the visit was a social visit or was an official visit. Because it seems to me, from what you have just indicated here, that it is Dudu that told you about the financial stress of Eskom and the people that needs to be suspended. And the president further confirmed, if you know these fellows that needs to be suspended. And then Dr. Ngubane had added, now I want you to tell us in this committee, who suspended these 4 directors? Is it the collaboration of the executives with the Guptas, or was it the board? And I want you to say it on record, who suspended these directors? Because you yourself, you are telling us here that if there was a clause that empowered the board to consider recusal, not suspension, you would have opted for that. And you have just indicated when Advocate Vanara was asking you, do you think that you owe a public apology to those directors and to the public who has suspended these fellows?
Honorable Chair, I must first expressly clarify that I have no personal relationship with Dudu Myeni, nor do I know anyone who has a personal relationship with her. So I'd like to dispense with that one. Very easy. The rest of it is very difficult for me. If you consider the objective situation and take the facts and the actions that led to the suspension of his executives, the role of the board is clearly identifiable. the course of action which was taken by board members has got a clear trail, which I think we have discussed here today. Now, any role by executives in collusion with anybody else, be it the Guptas or anyone else, is not clearly evident. So I imagine if I was to speculate on such a situation, clearly I would be opening myself up to having to substantiate myself with facts, etc., and all those things that go with it. I'm hoping that all of us who are going to come to this inquiry are going to be very candid, open, and truthful about what actually transpired. There is no doubt in my mind that this picture is not complete. I think I would be extremely naive if I felt that this picture was not complete, particularly because I was right in the engine room of what was going on. There are certain things I was picking up. As I said to you, one of them was the one I relate to here. How is it that within an hour of the board suspending these executives, that someone could come up with a list of people who are supposed to act in those positions? So clearly there are things that are going on and that were going on which are not clearly and apparent to us right now. But I think, having been close to the situation, I have a conviction that there is more to tell than what has been told so far. And I hope and I pray that the question you are asking about any hidden hand in this process will surface, and that someone will have the courage to come here and tell South Africa just exactly what had transpired. So, Honorable Chair, I'm afraid I cannot give you a satisfactory answer to your question to the extent that you might have wanted that I could.
That's fine, we're getting closer. Now the board meeting of the 9th, because I'm writing on the fact that you did not initiate the process. It was sponsored to you. You initiated the meeting of the 9th, where the board came. And in that meeting, we have already had the evidence from the previous witnesses, that in that meeting, when you tried to sponsor the inquiry resolution about these 4 fellows, the board was divided. They did not agree, which you bring it nicely as that there was discomfort on the issue with the board, which you yourself then said, okay, then the minister will have to come, will have to be part of the next meeting where this matter could be, and the board agreed because it was divided on the matter. It did not see any rationale for the suspension of these fellows. The meeting of the 11th, the minister was present. The inquiry resolution, which could not be passed when the minister was not there, it was passed. The minister of the board meeting of the 11th is the one that then was able, it was empowered for some reason because of the presence of the minister. that these 4 fellows must be suspended. It could not happen on the meeting of the 9th. It happened on the meeting of the 11th in the presence of the minister. And I'm putting to you that it was never the initiative of the board to suspend these 4 directors, but it was a decision of the executive which was sponsored to you. And for some reason you felt compelled to action it. Am I wrong?
That's a very difficult question to answer, Honorable Chair. My heart tells me one thing, but my mind tells me something else. At the time when the minister was with the board members raised a series of questions. Which the minister then, to most of them, responded. And to the best of my recollection, she was not fazed at all by the idea of both having an inquiry and suspending executives in the process. She did not question, as the board members had in the previous day questioned, the wisdom, as you correctly put it, of doing this. She did not raise any discomfort. So, it is not beyond comprehension for one to have gained certain impressions on that matter. But the issue is that much as one may have misgivings about the broader picture of what is likely to be going on, one must accept that the facts of the matter are that the Department of Public Enterprises, through the minister, supported this process. So I can't be specific in terms of responding to your question any more than I am now, because I must rely on the facts of what transpired, and perhaps hope that one day all the dots will be connected by others who would come here and fill in some of these gaps.
Mr. Tsotsi, you were under pressure. You were under pressure. You are on record here that your impression was that the Guptas were very close to Baba. So they were not happy with you. That's number one. Number two, the president had expressed his own interest about what must happen in Eskom. Number three, you are on record here that your relationship with the minister was very sour. So obviously you wanted to reconcile with the minister and you wanted to be on good books with Baba, hence you could not confront Baba. Now, that pressure was then by extension extended to board members through your leadership. Now I want to ask you, because of that pressure, have you ever received a brown envelope? Have you been bribed? Have you been given money for you to go against your own fiduciary duties? Because as a result of that pressure, you did things not voluntarily. You contravened your fiduciary duties. Now I'm asking you, did you get any personal benefit? Were you given a brown envelope? Were you given a bribe for you to act on it?
The simple answer and straight answer is no.
You never received a brown envelope. Now, Now, because of under your leadership, there are decisions that you have taken which include the suspension of those executive directors. So there was a gross financial negligence. Eskom has lost money because it had to put people to act, and as a result, Eskom was unnecessarily making money that Eskom did not have. What is the personal responsibility that you are willing to take for Eskom to recover the money that it has lost under your leadership as a result of the decision that were taken? And what is the personal responsibility that you are willing to take as a person who wants us to believe you led Eskom on good faith because you wanted to do difference, but unfortunately you did the opposite? What personal responsibility are you willing to take?
I think it's a matter of what the responsibilities of directors is and the circumstances. One would have to examine the entire situation and make a clear indication as to what is attributable at a personal level. And that's something that would involve, I believe, people who are competent in matters legal. So I can't even begin to even say what personal responsibility there would be, if any. Because as I say, I'm not a legal person, and it's only our legal people who can tell us how to deal with that situation and what that situation in fact entails.
Chair, my second last question. The meeting with
It should be your last question because you are way over your limited time.
Let me couple them together. You'll answer them both. Your meeting with Dudu Myeni in the House of the President, together with President, it was never sanctioned by the board of Eskom. So the board of Eskom did not know about the meeting. But we are on record here that you then told the board about the meeting. What was the intention of telling them about the meeting? Did you want to make a drop of the name of President so that they feel the undue pressure because you had this from the interaction with the President and I don't know how to call it to me, but for the purpose of the side chick of the President, you wanted to inform the board that you had a meeting with the two of them and therefore your intention was to put undue pressure to the board.
Honorable Rawula.
Last question.
How do you know that a president of a country has a side chick? How do you even go about saying a president of a country has a side chick? That is out of order, really out of order.
So what
we must hold the integrity of this inquiry in its depth, please, honorable member.
Okay, what's your prayer on me?
Withdraw.
Okay, you want me to withdraw?
Yes, please.
I withdraw, but it's not on record what was that relationship about, but I withdraw. And the last question that I have, now the board became irritated with you because of the decisions you have taken that were irrational. And the board began to ask you to resign. You even said in your statement, they started to trump up charges. And amongst the issues that they were citing, over and above the fact that they felt that we were being manipulated by the executive, you were being manipulated by the Guptas themselves, and over and above that there was a serious loss of money. And lastly, you were also not fit on the basis of those reasons to hold office, and as a result of that you decided to resign because of the degree of the contravention of your own fiduciary duty. So I've asked you two questions. You see, whether your meeting with Tutu and the president was to put undue pressure to the board, and also the fact that you yourself, even the board was irritated, they wanted to get rid of you because of you were not fit, you were irrational, you were contravening your fiduciary duties, and Eskom under your leadership has lost money. What do you have to say to that?
Thank you, Honorable Rawula.
Okay, first of all, in respect of the matter with going to the meeting at the president's residence, I returned back to Eskom because I felt that there was, as I've said, there was need for me to bring the board into this issue. And I simply placed before the board what I had received. And it was entirely up to the board to decide how to deal with that matter. I'm in no position to impose anything on the board. I never would have done that. And board members would certainly have had their say if I decided to impose something on them. And sure enough, many board members were in disagreement with the process, and so was I in disagreement with that process. But I had a duty to bring the matter to the board so that the board can decide how to deal with it. So I think it's a serious misnomer to say, I made a decision, I caused X, Y, Z. I think it's a very, very serious misrepresentation of the facts. And to that degree, when the board was making accusations against me, they had nothing to do with my fiduciary duties, absolutely nothing. I think it will be useful for this committee to interrogate those charges, or to have a look at those charges that the board brought against me. They had nothing to do with causing loss of income or anything like that. They were simply unfounded allegations which were clearly, in my mind, designed to bring an exit of myself from Eskom, from the board. Now, let me put you into the picture of what came across recently with these Gupta emails. There is one of these Gupta emails which talks about a conversation between a certain Mr. Hoa and referring to a statement which he was preparing for Ben Ngubane. And the statement had to do with how to phrase a press release speaking of my resignation. This matter is reported to have occurred about 10 or so days before my resignation. Now, what does it say? It says, if we were to accept the veracity of these documents, that my resignation was being discussed well before there was even thought of me resigning. There was a conversation somewhere where board member, or probably members, I don't know, who were serving with me on the board, we're having a conversation with an outsider about how to reflect my resignation from the board. Hence, I have every reason to wonder if my situation was not orchestrated from somewhere. Because if you ask my counsel will clearly tell you how spurious the charges against me were. You couldn't face a court of law with those charges. So, I think, as I said before, I hope this committee is going to be favored with people who are willing to come here and say these things. Because there's a lot more than meets the eye, quite obviously. And so, I'm standing here and sitting here saying to myself, I am open to insinuations and suggestions of what might have happened and what I might be seen to be guilty of, simply because these gaps exist and that we need to close these gaps so that information comes to the fore which represents the truth. But for now, I will say that my removal, and I'm calling it a removal, not a resignation. My removal from Eskom, I'm convinced beyond reasonable doubt, was orchestrated from somewhere.